I'm Jason Gibb, co-founder of Bread and Jam, and this is Breaking Bread. Every episode, I sit down with the key people in the food world to learn from their experiences. Our guest, Lucy Silva, is a trading manager at Ocado. Today, Lucy reveals what really makes buyers say yes, the mistakes that get you immediately rejected, and why face-to-face interactions do get results. Welcome, Lucy. Thank you very much for coming along. So you started working as a buyer at Tesco's 20 years ago, but from what I understand, you didn't always want to be a buyer?
No. So I guess growing up at school and everything, I knew I always enjoyed maths. I was good at numbers. I thought I wanted to be maybe an accountant. And studying, I did things like business studies and got a glimpse into different things like marketing and different things. And so then suddenly sort of enjoyed wider retail and started looking for a university course. And the one I found was retail marketing at Brighton. So quite an unusual course. I Googled on the train on the way here, actually, does such a course still exist? And there's one or two still out there. But normally it's more now like business with a side of digital marketing or something like that. But retail marketing is what I did at university.
Retail marketing. And what do you think are the characteristics of what makes a buyer? What makes a good buyer?
What makes a good buyer? I think it's a balance of numbers, being sort of interested in profitability, sales, definitely a business acumen there for sure, as well as customer focus. I think it's the balance of both. And ultimately, best buyers deliver ranges that customers love and thrive and deliver the sales, deliver the profit. That's what I think makes a great buyer.
And actually that kind of to expand on that, for the audience, what does a buyer do? A retail buyer, what's their job?
Yeah, what's their job? I guess, classic, if I walk you through a bit of a week, if you like. A Monday is all about trade and looking back to the week that you've had. How did your business perform? What products were popular? What had a spike, and we're online obviously now at Ocado. So what were customers searching for? What was ending up in more baskets? Things like that. So performance and analysing what you've delivered.
And you're judged on that, the area of the supermarket that you're looking after. Yeah. There's someone above you kind of then checking, are you hitting those figures?
Yeah, so each buyer really, regardless of the retailer you work at, you'll have the same set of KPIs really, key performance indicators. So how was your sales? How was your profit? How was your margin, your profitability, your volume? And then wider ones would be things like market share. Are you growing faster than the market or behind? If you're growing faster, you're going to gain market share in that area and deliver more. And then, the customer, we also have metrics at Ocado, Net Promoter Score. So that's our customers telling us how well they think we're doing. That's a really important metric for us to understand as well.
So then going back to you Mondays, you're kind of checking your figures. Then what happens the rest of the week?
It is more than about how are you doing? So was it a good week you've just had, middling, average? Do you need to sort of course correct? Do you need to take actions? So then it's all about figuring out how can you drive your performance harder? What more can you do? Have you got the right set of promotions? Are you trading well? Are you competitive versus the market? I used to work at Tesco. Now I'm at Ocado. Obviously, we're a much smaller part of the market, but it's incredibly important for us to still be competitive and offer our customers great value. So if I was underperforming and I noticed I was uncompetitive versus the market, that's definitely something I'd want to look at and ask the team to look at. So the rest of the week is sort of, I would say course correcting, improving performance, taking actions, being online. We're super agile. We can take an action today, customers see it tomorrow. Now that's not the case in store because you've got mountains of workforces. If you turn a promotion on in store, you have to sort of let it rock and roll and you can't really deviate from the plan really for the phase, which is often a month. Online, we're a bit more agile because it's the platform, it's the website, we don't have the stores and the labour and the workforce.
And what percentage of your time is spent on finding new suppliers?
Yeah. So things like the beauty of Ocado, actually, we've got so much data because we're sort of a closed loop system. We understand everything the customer's doing when they're shopping with us. So if they're searching for something that we don't have, we're alerted to that. We're notified, if you like. So I think you said you've met Ria recently from All the Aunties. So paneer was a search term that wasn't converting that well on Ocado.
Right.
So that's a bit of a flag to the buying team of cheese. Have you got the right paneer offering? Do you need more in this space? Do you need something different quality, different price point, more a sort of added value, different pack size, whatever it may be? Go and explore, because customers aren't quite satisfied with what you're delivering currently. So that's the beauty of online as well. We get a lot of hints and tips and a lot of direct customer feedback. So sometimes that defines what you might route and source for next, something like that. Or else you're out and about exploring trade shows, events, things like that, meeting people. Really encourage our buyers at Ocado to get out and get in front of the next biggest trend.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So I want to kind of go back through your career, if that's all right. So from 2006 to 2015-ish, you were at Tesco's, you worked across lots of different categories.
Yeah.
You did frozen chips, men's shaving stuff, ice cream, pies. Yeah. What did working with all those brands and categories teach you about what makes a good supplier and what makes not such a great supplier?
Yeah. What makes a good supplier? So my first sort of 4 years probably in buying at Tesco were all in the health and beauty space.
Right.
But I worked my way up, junior buyer all the way through. So, I mean, I was learning up until the day I left Tesco, I was learning.
Yeah.
So what made a great supplier there? That was the wave of sort of the male skincare taking off, and they say the moment when, or the movement when men started paying a bit more attention and self-buying and things like that. So that's when I was looking after male toiletries. So the suppliers that did a great job there were the ones sort of embracing that new customer and targeting that customer and doing things differently to appeal to a new shopper. Suppliers who probably had a great grip on the marketplace, consumer behavior, what was happening. I used to work with all sorts of brands, huge, powerful master brands, things like Unilever. I bought Lynx, Africa, all that stuff. So the amount of knowledge they would have on the customer behavior, fascinating. And they really helped me learn a lot about my category, my consumer, what was happening, historical, future forecasting, things like that. So great suppliers are ones who probably help buyers share insights, transparency, share objectives, go on a journey. I think that makes a great supplier. Knowing as well the unique value their new product or range or whatever it may be is going to bring. So, this is doing well, but actually our new innovation here will do this to your market, will expand here, whatever it may be.
Those kind of things seem to be things that big corporates can kind of afford to do, like knowing their customer and researching and stuff. Were there any kind of challenger brands that you were working with who were a bit more scrappy?
Yeah. So one springs to mind, Bulldog.
Oh yeah.
So those guys took me on quite a bit of a skincare journey for men, and they were the disruptor.
Right.
They were absolutely there. And I think an excellent buyer needs that sort of a bit of a category education and whatnot from the big brands, because they do a lot of the research and the consumer analysis and everything. But it's that balance of, it's often the entrepreneurs, the founders, the innovators who are bringing the next big thing. So a perfect category to look after. My favorite jobs have been where I've had a real balance of some own label, some big brands, and some sort of innovation entrepreneurs. The whole spectrum is my favorite kind of job, really.
But because I don't think a lot of challenger brands realize that a lot of these big brands will bring the market data and insight into you, and they kind of they tell you what the category story is, so to speak.
Well, I think it's the best buyer will be sort of the balance of digesting that information, but also challenging. They've got their own data, so they know equally what's happening as well. So a brand might like to spin a story of it's all about trade up and premiumization. I've had £1 for every time I've heard that. But the buyer will have the data of what is happening with my shoppers in Tesco or Ocado is, they're trading down, they're spending £1 less on their toiletries than they used to. So the brilliant buyer will absorb and digest, but have a rounded, comprehensive picture of everything and use their own data and insights, analysis, customer research. We used to do focus groups. We used to speak directly to our customers. Super important to have a rounded position of it all.
So your 8-9 years at Tesco's, you moved around to different categories. So you're buying for all these different things.
Yeah.
A complaint I often hear from challenger brands is that it's really hard to build a relationship with the buyer because they keep on moving around, and you kind of build a rapport with one and then suddenly they've disappeared. What is the reason behind this?
Actually at Tesco, so I was there about 12 years, but I really did sort of 3 chunks of 4 years, if you like. So 4.5 years in health and beauty. So that's one supply base, if you like, one channel, albeit lots going on. Then I did the same 4.5, 5 years in frozen, across different areas, party food, vegetarian, ice cream. And then I did sort of 4 odd years in convenience. So yes, I moved around, but actually, I wasn't sort of constantly going from one to the next. And I think all brands really need to sort of expect an element of movement. So what is average these days? Maybe 18 months might be the average. In Ocado, the spectrum of jobs is huge. So, we'll have levels of buying, but even within those levels, the spectrum and the range is a huge variation. And if we spot talent who's well able for more and could go on to more and more and more, we won't sort of keep someone sat still. Yeah. If we think there's greater stretch for them, they can add more value to the business, all the rest of it. So that said, I suppose we'll have the annual terms agreements. So sort of, most retailers will agree one set of sort of annual terms with their supply base. So if a buyer can do that twice, there's benefit definitely for the business and the supply base, because you're building on plans that you've delivered together the year before, things like that. So,
so it's not, I've heard it unkindly, a reason for it that you don't want relationships to be too strong between buyer and supplier. Is that's unfair?
I think that's unfair personally. So when you asked me at the very beginning what makes a great buyer, that relationship actually is critical, I think. So I was always very open with my suppliers. I'd share, this is my plan, these are my objectives, this is my strategy, this is the role you play, share back. Because I think if you don't share and there's not that expectation of what they're there to deliver for you, the role they're going to play, how are they going to fulfill what you're looking for? So big believer in lots of openness, lots of communication, classic sort of negotiation, you call it a win-win. But I think particularly for a retailer like Ocado, where we're trying to be disruptive, we're a small player, you want to have great collaborations, great satisfying gains for both parties, or else it's not moving forward.
For sure, yeah. Have you got any advice for someone maybe who's caught in that kind of buyer moving matrix? Like, how do you... If you built up a good relationship with the buyer, then they suddenly disappear and they say, you've been handed over to this new person. Yeah. What is a good example of a supplier or brand negotiating that?
Yeah. I think the first thing to think about is, buyers disappeared. Buyer might have sat 2 doors down from where they sat. Right. So they're still next to their teammate, their colleague, who's now looking after your area. So the absolute worst thing you could do is sort of think that buyer's gone away and the new buyer can never ask any questions, because that's, lots of people at Ocado have been there a long time. It's a brilliant place to work. So the knowledge is often just around the corner from the new buyer. So I think my advice, so if I was a supplier and my buyer had moved, What I think they should do is quite quickly probably want to summarize where they got to. So we've been, so I guess it's, if you've been selling to us, this is the journey. We've been selling to you for a year. These have been our highs, lows. This is where we're at, and this is what we'd like to do next. If you were on the cusp of coming in, but you didn't quite get over the line, I can appreciate how that's a little bit harder. And I think, again, I'd summarize with this is the journey we've been on. These are the conversations we've had. This is our expectation of where we think it's going next. Where are you at? So it's just that open communication. But, 9 times out of 10, the old buyer is sat just around the corner. So that connection of, did you say it was 80% coming in and no, that's not what I said, So I think, I think it's that honesty on both sides really, really important at stages like that.
Cool. So after your time at Tesco's, you finished there, and then you kind of went almost supplier side. You worked for the Compleat Group for a number of years. Was that a gear shift from kind of buying? Did it teach you anything else about, I don't know, the FMCG ecosystem? Were there any useful learnings there?
Yeah, I've always had a bit of an itch to go supplier side. And if I'm really honest, that spell that I had probably hasn't truly satisfied the itch.
Right.
So I think Compleat were a partner when I was at Tesco. So my last job at Tesco was deli. They were a supplier partner. So again, I'd built a relationship with them for maybe 3 or 4 years previously. So when I left Tesco, they said, lots going on here, come and do a spell. But it was, I was a bit of a jack of all trades. So I was never in a position, my role was never to forward face back into a retailer. So I don't feel like I've ever really sat the other side of the table by a supplier. But I learned some of the inner workings of an FMCG branded supplier.
Yeah.
But equally, I was kept at bay. I was sort of an employee, but really I was a consultant.
Right.
So I wasn't fully embraced
immersed in it.
I wasn't immersed. No.
And so then you went back into buying in Ocado.
Yeah.
In about 2020.
Yeah.
And how does Ocado differ from other supermarkets?
I think the main difference, Jason, is Ocado has a real entrepreneurial spirit about it. So we're very young still as a retailer. We recently had our 25th birthday, and we're 5 years into our retail relationship with Marks and Spencer's. So very young still in the scale of retail businesses. So we still have that entrepreneurial, scrappy, disruptor spirit, I think, actually, which is wildly different from Tesco. The hierarchy, the structure is a lot flatter. The building is smaller. The trading floor is smaller. So if you dream up an idea and you want to go and do something, I used to look after ready meals and meal solutions. Dream up an idea, you want to have an innovative offer for the customer with beers, wines and spirits. You just walk around the corner and they're sat there.
Right.
And the connection between the buying teams and all the individuals, very close, very tight knit. So we make.
Do you all
happen.
know each other? Like, are we talking? There are 100 buyers at Ocado?
There's less. There's probably 70, 75.
Right.
And when I joined in 2020, I think I was. Well, it's funny. They remember. I think I was buyer number 35 or something.
Oh right, wow.
And the great Kevin Hancock.
Yeah.
Was still there, is still there. So he was there when I joined. So there's a real small pool people who've been there a long time.
Yeah.
And then I was part of the big surge, I suppose. And then over the next probably COVID years, the next 2 years, we probably went from the 35, 40, 50, 60, 70 quite quickly. And we've probably been at 70 for, stable maybe for 2 years-ish. So that sort of feels like the right number for us right now. Obviously delivering extraordinary growth with that number. But yes, it's tight-knit. You've got Vanessa, who's running BWS. She's been there more or less since I've been there. So that's great.
Yeah.
So, real relationships across the trading team, lots of closeness, lots of connection. And there's just a lot less red tape and sort of, we encourage people to dream up an idea, make it happen, have a go, test, learn, fail fast, move on, next thing. so that we're constantly challenging each other to do different things. It's very fast paced.
So is that part of how you're judged, your KPIs are to come up with kind of cross-category ideas, like talking to your beers, wine, spirits person and doing something collaborative? Yeah,
I'd say we are really, because we've got 3 values at Ocado. So one of them is challenge what's possible. And it's that bit of, another retailer can't do that, or we haven't done that, but actually let's have a go. We could probably do that better than somebody else.
Can you give me an example?
So things that we're great at, cross-temperature promotions, things like that. So in a Tesco, you thought it was amazing if you ever got some sort of, UHT milk next to a box of cereal. That was sort of as good as it got for milk and cereal.
Right, yeah.
Because of the fridge location, Whereas on Ocado, meal deals. So we'll do customers brilliant dinner solutions, and we'll add ice cream as the dessert.
Right.
And it's just that, it sort of sounds simple, but you're just opening customer to so much more outside of category, obvious positions, if you like. So, we're constantly encouraging teams to challenge what's possible, think of something else, have another idea.
And do you like challenger brands who come to you with similar ideas?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we think, we're young and we're learning. So like, we don't have all the answers. People, absolutely. We're inspired, I think. We're, if I think back to some of the best pitches I've ever had, or some of the best sort of engagements I've had at the very beginning, it's the people who bring ideas. So I don't know if I should mention them.
Tell me your best pitch, or who.
One of my best pitches. One of my best pitches. Charlie and Sam from Stocked.
Right.
So we probably met them maybe 2 years ago.
So they're frozen
meal solution, sort of blocks that customer can add 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever they want to their dinner at any evening. So those guys, what really impressed me, they'd done their research. So they were telling me things about Ocado that I had some suppliers who'd been with me for 2 years probably still didn't know. So they'd done their research. They knew the space they were coming into. They knew the value they could add. They'd thought about how they trade on Ocado. They'd had those ideas. They'd brought newness, innovation, sort of challenger ideas to the party. Yeah, they blew our socks off.
What could they know that you didn't know? Like, what do you mean?
So they'd clearly researched Ocado. So things like, they knew how customers shopped on our website.
Right.
They knew the importance of search and tagging and just different nuances of online retail. They were online first. So, a frustration sometimes of Ocado buyers would be, sometimes we get delivered a grocery retail plan.
Right.
And it's a Tesco, Sainsbury's plan.
Yeah.
Delivered to us. Well, that's not going to work on Ocado. So they were Ocado first.
Right.
Everything was bespoke and thoroughly considered for the online platform and shopping experience. And that stuff, you learn that stuff by trading on Ocado retail. But they'd taken the initiative to go and seek it out. So I imagine they had some amazing mentors in place, and coaching and learning, but probably just spent a ton of time on the website as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. If I was looking at, if I was an entrepreneur and I had a new product, I would watch what other people are doing on Ocado retail. Some people are doing or having a brilliant journey on Ocado retail. And I think the community is such a nice sort of safe space. People share a lot, the highs and the lows.
100%.
So you can take a ton of knowledge from everything that's already out there. People are telling you, these are my successes in the first 3-6 months. This is where it went wrong. Do this differently. So, there's so much out there. So the flip would that be somebody rocking up at Ocado retail with very limited ideas and suggestions for how to trade. It's like, here's my product. It's like, okay,
right.
How are you going to get yourself seen in amongst the 45,000 products that we see? What ideas have you got? What's your USP? Where do you add value? Where do you fit? Who's your competition? So a really thoughtful, considered approach means a lot.
So let's kind of talk through that approach, because I think I think it could be done a lot better to kind of save suppliers and save buyers a lot of time. If it's what if you're getting an email out of the blue kind of thing, what do you want to be in that first email that would make you kind of ask for more information or something? Do you want it to be packed full of market data and visuals and the founder story, and should they throw everything at it? Should it be 2 sentences?
It's a really good question. And this will probably be a little bit tailored as well to some buyers might prefer data-led, constant analytics. It depends really. Personally, I think, would I want an email even first things first? And it's difficult. We get approached on LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah.
Emails a lot. I think it's that bit of knowing, just being so clear on your story and your value add. So Ocado, I think I should become a listing on your platform because, because you don't sell anything like this, or because I'm already on sale somewhere else and this is the response that consumers are having to the product, reviews, if you think. So we're a crowded marketplace. So you've got to be different. You it's got to have a real clear USP, or it's not really going to work on our platform because it's a noisy platform. There's a lot going on. You've got to know why you're standing out.
But did you also say that you don't really want people to email you or message you on LinkedIn?
No. So we get a lot of messages on LinkedIn. I suppose the clearer the more direct you can go to the buyer, the better.
Yeah.
So I don't buy anything anymore. Yes, you can come to me, but actually you're better off targeting directly to the buyer and trying to identify something, a gap in their range, or, Paneer, as an example, noticed that the reviews are all, I'm making this up, but 2-star reviews.
Right.
The quality doesn't seem there. Nothing's marinated. There's no added value, the fat level, whatever it may be. I've noticed X. I've got a product that's amazing and this is the role it plays.
Do you have to strike a balance between criticizing a buyer's range and not offending them?
Yeah. I think at Ocado, we know we don't have all the answers.
Right.
We know the range isn't perfect. We know there's improvements to be made. So, don't, it's a delicate one.
Yeah.
Just do it in the right way, I think. Do it with the curiosity and the, I've noticed, and this is some factual stuff, or your market share is declining, or, your average selling price is £2 lower than the market, whatever, you're uncompetitive, whatever. So the more facts-based, I think, and then this is it's sort of a problem we've identified, but the solution we can bring is here. I'm thinking about, there's a couple of people who email and email and email and email.
Yeah, I was just going to go on to that. Like the first approach, you've identified your buyer.
Yeah.
You've kind of sent them an email, but you've not heard anything. What would you advise the brand or the supplier to do then if they've not heard anything back?
Yeah.
Which is understandable because the buyer's getting dozens and hundreds of these emails.
Yeah.
But how do they do that without being a pain?
Yeah, because you don't want to be a pain, because you don't want... Yeah, it's a really difficult one. I guess just an appreciation for buyers at Ocado Retail, their range and what they look after is huge. So, at Tesco, there might be a coffee buyer who might sit next to a tea buyer. But our buyer is all of hot beverages and.
Yeah, wow.
So it's different.
Looking after a lot of different products.
It's a lot. And therefore, the range is huge. The suppliers that you're working with currently is a large supply base. So yes, we constantly want to bring on new people, but we have to pick and choose very carefully who. So actually, we don't have, a kind of a common, mistruth is expandable, never-ending shelves at Ocado. They're not never-ending.
Right.
We have limits. We have operational challenges that they are limited. Fresh is particularly more limited than ambient and things like that.
Because there's this perception in bricks and mortar supermarkets. It's like one product in, one product out.
Yeah.
And Ocado, because it's not limited by those shelf spaces, it's seen as a kind of much bigger shelves. But you're still saying that there's a finite limit to how many.
There's an absolute limit. There's got to be, for several reasons, really. One, think about sort of the consumer who's shopping the area. If you search for tea bags and you're returned 1,500, different products, right? So from a sensibility point of view, there's a limit. But equally, we have to nurture a relationship and a trading sort of collaboration with every supplier we bring in. So you've got to have a bit of a grip on that. Otherwise, you're not going to have strong relationships if you've not got time in the day to see everybody. So, and we have warehouses and things that do have shelves and limited footprints. So there are limits at Ocado, and there's always an underperforming level of SKUs as well, and it's that balance of. We don't have a benchmark for an area. So, if you think I used to look after, or my team used to look after ready meals, we won't have a benchmark for ready meals. We won't say it's this, because that's up against M&S ready meal that will sell. And
benchmark, you mean a kind of a rate of sale that you're expecting for them to stay listed?
Yeah. I mean, it's all much more nuanced because, what's really important is that at the time of listing, buyer and supplier have a real clear expectation on what success looks like for this product. So you're coming into a very noisy category. If you're a ready meal, you're up against M&S, the best ready meals in the world. So we're not going to expect you to sell to that degree. But we will have an expectation of what you do need to deliver success and warrant being there. So it's just really important that information's shared, and that would be the same. It's never one size fits all. We don't have a benchmark unit and things like that. It's very prescriptive for the area you're in and the role you're coming into play.
But I want to push you, if I can, on. So I'm a new ready meal supplier, and I've kind of found you, and I'm sent you the kind of initial approach, and I've not heard anything. Do I double down? Do I stalk you somewhere else? What do I do to stay at the forefront of your mind, I suppose?
I guess if you were a ready meal buyer, there's things like the Meals Collective. So there's specific trade shows or events and communities and things. So staying connected to that's going to be a sensible thing to do. Because you're probably going to meet and face-to-face see people and have a bit more of a real-life connection or conversation. So that is something I would do. And I would probably ask the question of, I'd put myself out there and sort of say, I'm sensing it's a no, right? You're not responding. Yeah. So I'm sensing it's a no. Is it a no? Is it a no, not right now?
Yeah.
And sometimes just asking that question allows it is a no, actually. Because saying no to somebody, particularly if you've been through a few conversations or, part negotiations and things, it's it's not the answer anybody likes to hear or wants to deliver. So, but I think, you've got to sense yourself, if when it's really a no, because when it's a yes, it takes a different path.
Got you.
So I would just ask, I'm sensing it's a no. Is it a no? Could you share the reasons why? Is it a not right now? Is there anything? I'd probably lean into it that way.
Hey, I just want to pause here for a moment, because one of the biggest reasons why startups fail is because they don't manage their finances well when they get listed, whether it's cash flow, commercials, or cost of goods. I always say that right from the start, you need serious financial expertise on your team. Our sponsors, Harmonic Finance, specialize in exactly this. finding finance and accounting talent for startups and scale-ups like yours. So whether it's a permanent CFO or fractional support to get ready for scale, they understand the unique challenges of emerging brands. Check them out at harmonicfinance.com. Events like Bread and Jam, where you meet face to face, it feels like that is quite a key thing from your perspective.
Yeah, I think so. I think make yourself known to the buyer, introduce yourself. I mean, the guys, I'm sure they always have samples with them. The more you can get them to take away what you're sharing on the day is a sensible thing to do. There's lots of ways to show up, Taste of London. I guess you don't have to necessarily have a stand, but you could go. You might have a partner or a supplier sort of connection that you could go and, all of the retailers will be at certain events in mass, sort of people. So, yeah, I think face-to-face, that connection, and as a founder and as an entrepreneur, and if you're a big part of the story, I think that's a really special connection to build and keep building, yeah. And
a lot of heads of sales talk about kind of drip feeding information to the buyer. Do you like that?
No, I don't like that.
You don't like it? Okay.
I don't like that.
Updates and news and we got this kind of 2-star Great Taste Award.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood the question slightly. I think I don't like drip feeding in a sense of, constant. I'd rather have that final sort of conversation of it's heading to a yes or it's a no.
Right.
So clear that bit up. Then if there was I don't know, 3 months later, we've just won 3 Gold Star Award. Yeah, share information. I think that's okay. But I guess like on LinkedIn and things, we're keeping eyes on everybody. If there's someone we're particularly interested in or we're monitoring their, grocery career or whatever. So I don't think you necessarily need to,
right? Because
I think if people are interested in your journey, they'll be following your journey.
Cool.
And the worst thing you could do is just constantly, on a Monday, for instance, a Monday would be a terrible idea of a day to reach out to a buyer and try and get any sort of response. Because of the trading, performance review sort of the week before and the plans for setting up the week ahead. So Monday is a bit of a special day for a buyer in a sense of it's taken. Mondays are pretty much...
Yeah, it shows a lack of kind of respect if you're kind of doing it on a Monday.
Just awareness, I think.
Awareness,
I think. And it's that, Tuesday to Friday, much more about sort of,
Tuesday and Friday.
Tuesday to Friday.
To Friday,
I suppose,
gotcha.
Yeah, Monday would be the only one I'd never really reach to a buyer on a Monday.
And you talked about LinkedIn. Like, where do buyers look for new suppliers?
Yeah, LinkedIn. But I think you'll know, Jason, you'll see tons of Ocado buyers now out and about. We're really representing at the different trade shows, the events, and we're trying to get targeted into if it's, deli and farm show, the right team go and represent. And, they'd come back and they'd share and they might say, I saw something that could be, because it's that little network and community. We're such a tight-knit bunch. We're often feeding each other little bits and things that we've seen.
Nice.
So as long as somebody from Ocado Retail's going and representing, it comes back, if you like. It feeds back, it shares back. So we do encourage the buyers out and about. You should be seeing them at all the big events and all the bespoke sort of, the teams go to the ones that are, most relevant for their areas.
Great. And then let's kind of talk a little bit about what happens if the conversation goes well and there's a kind of listing in the pipeline. What does a listing look like for a new brand?
What does a listing look like? So sometimes we'll put in place a contract, a short-term contract, more like a trial contract, I suppose, with those really clear expectations of this is what we're looking how to perform on the site, how to engage with the customers, this is the volumes we'd like to see, things like that, profitability. So that's one way of doing it. And it's quite a nice way in a sense because it's all very clearly explained for both parties. So,
right.
It's a timed line, a time event with the parameters of what we're looking for. Not everybody does it like that. It really depends. But I think what is critical is that bit of expectation shared up front.
Yeah.
So, because I bumped into someone recently and they said, yeah, we're doing 40 units a week, great. And I was thinking, okay, don't know. Like, that doesn't seem like a number that I would have been. But again, I'm not looking after the area they were talking about. So it's all relative.
Yep, sure.
So as long as the buyer maybe gave them a parameter of 30 to 50, that's good for all parties. But if the buyer sat there thinking 200 units a week, then that's not working.
So that could be the difference between like a very expensive olive oil and a kind of chilled meat product, which would have a completely different rate of sale.
Correct, yeah. And that's why it's not all one size fits all. It's very bespoke to the sort of the role you're going to play. You're joining a collection of other products. This is where you sit. This is the role you're going to play. And therefore, our expectations look like this.
And do you think that new suppliers need to have a big budget behind them to launch successfully on Ocado?
I think, so no, I don't think they need a big budget, but I think they need a big plan for trading and promoting on the platform. So remember, our range count is huge, sort of 45,000 products.
Wow.
And, customers don't, so how are you going to be seen within that sea of SKUs? So I would always recommend, I think I said this on something else I was talking about, if you were thinking of 15 weeks on deal, I would double it to 30. I would go big, bold.
So on deal, you mean like a price promotion where it's 25% off or 50p off or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't always have to be a price promotion. It could be a coupon, something like that. So there's a whole set of levers on Ocado Retail to pull. But yeah, I would double up on your presence, if you like. So instead of thinking of the 52 weeks, if it was annual, 15 weeks on deal, no, more weeks on deal for more presence, more visibility. So on Ocado Retail, it's all about visibility. So that's sort of discounting your product, funding the promotion to get it into trial.
Right.
So that's an important expense I think you should have as a new brand coming on.
And then there are all sorts of kind of opportunities to kind of get banners and to get kind of favorites and things like that. Is that usually, do you expect a new supplier to put money into that?
Yeah, I think so. So favorites is actually, if you had a new product and you put it on promotion and I bought it, it goes into my favorites.
Yeah.
So doing a promotion, driving trial is the way to get a favorite. So that budget and that investment is sort of covered off there. But the banners, yeah, sort of, it's our version of point of sale that you'd see in a store. But there's a spectrum of costs, For new, smaller suppliers, we operate a citrus wallet as well. So much more affordable entry price point, banners and point of sale.
And citrus is?
Sort of an online platform for new and challenger brands to have a wallet of money to spend for discretionary, discounted media. Yeah, on the platform.
Cool.
So an element of media money is important for sure because it drives your visibility.
Yep.
You don't need to have thousands, but a pocket of money is going to be helpful to drive visibility.
Okay. Talking about the kind of getting listed in the first place on, does a new supplier, do they have to go nationwide? How does it kind of, a tiny bit about the operational side of things that I think it's useful for people to know when they're starting? Yeah,
it's a really good question. So on Ocado, if you're nationwide because we only have one ranging sense, if you like. So you join the platform.
Yeah.
You're in, and so it's sort of, I think it's about 85% of the UK now. Geographically, we service, you're seen in all of those household postcodes. So it's one.
But where, as a new supplier, am I delivering to like one depot and it's then redistributed, or how does that work?
Yeah. So if you're frozen, if I was ever going to launch a product, I'd go frozen.
Right.
Frozen has one distribution center.
Right.
So you drop and we do the rest.
So that makes your logistics a lot cheaper.
Simpler, cheaper. Yeah. forecasting, just everything really is a bit simpler for the frozen, or the sort of ambient. Sometimes the ambient, but then our fresh and some of the ambient network, there's 7 CFCs. So we call them customer fulfillment centres. So
Right.
depots, effectively 7 around the UK. And lots of people would drop to those 7 daily or multiple times a week.
Wow.
But we have an Ocado primary network who can go to you and pick up, and they do that bit for you. So lots of options, but...
Because for a challenger brand, I think delivering to 7,
Yeah.
quarter pallets to 7 different depots.
No, we
makes
wouldn't
it,
recommend that. Yeah, we would, depending what field you were in, we might even suggest a couple of people you could partner with.
Right.
And you drop to them,
Yeah.
because they are dropping to the 7 locations.
Yeah.
Something like that. That happens a lot, actually. And again, it's that close-knit community, if you like, of suppliers and buyers who will tap someone and say, I've got this new product, could it go through your route, your network? So things like that. So
Right.
there's lots of options. So no,
Yeah.
the challengers don't deliver to the 7 networks, no.
Yeah. And can you give me an example of any brands who've done a really great launch with you that has really nailed it and done well?
Let's think. I think someone like Pact, I might say. So I think Pact have a great relationship with our frozen buyer. And, they're really clear what their USPs are. And they'll challenge us to have some ideas and to get out of category, so out of frozen, which is much easier to do online. So things like on the avocado search term, we know that's a popular search with customers. We might feature the Packed avocado, frozen avocado. And then suddenly customers are noticing, oh, you sell frozen avocado as well, and I can buy it and I can store it in the freezer. So it works well when a supplier has a big ambition, if you like, and is driving forward with ideas and change. Packed, they'll do star reviews, which is something we talk about on Ocado. So it's where you give your product to a pool of customers for them to review. So that's a bit like investing in a promotion as well. You're investing in the stock to give to a relatively small group of customers, but it generates all the reviews. Our customers love reading reviews and being sort of, informed by other customers. So Packed, I think they do a great, when they bring MPD, which is fairly regular. So I think their latest is sort of a sofrito winter mix. They'll just think about, how will I get that seen? So what are customers doing? Buying lots of beef joints, things like that, stewing meats. Let me pop it visually there, feature it, disrupt the aisle, things like that. They're just thinking about an online journey and how to execute to see customers see it and try it. Price cuts, I think the mix was down to £2 for a bag of frozen sofrito. So instead of all that time chopping and all the rest of it. So just a very considered launch, things like that. They do a good job. But it's relationship as well. Great relationship with the buying team as well.
So at Bread and Jam, we have these retail meet the buyer opportunities.
Yeah.
And you get 10 minutes if you're selected with your buyer, and the brands are pacing up and down the corridor outside, pretty scared, because buyers are seen as the gateway to kind of the retail opportunity. How can you kind of make them calm their nerves a little bit about meeting the buyers?
Yeah. I think one of our other values at Ocado is always be curious. So when we're on panels and things like that, we're going to want to learn. Tell me more about your product. Tell me how you started it. Where did the idea come from? Tell me why you'd like to be on Ocado Retail. Tell me why you think you could improve the shopping experience for our customers. So, I'd like to think we're showing up with a real curiosity, a real open, warm sort of set of reactions to learn more about your product. Sometimes we'll think, yes, perfect fit for Ocado, but we won't always think that. So, will some suppliers leave disappointed? Sometimes, because not everything can come and not everything will be right, and it won't be the right time for everything. But I would hope that we'd always do it in a warm, friendly, give you feedback on why. So actually, we think it's too similar to what we have, or the price point there, or the quality isn't what we're looking for, or, whatever it may be, helpful, constructive feedback so that you can evolve your product. And I think actually when you do list on Ocado, those immediate customer reviews are brilliant, because challenger brands, entrepreneurs, they'll often tweak little bits of the packaging or the recipe or whatever it may be based on that immediate feedback you get the day after you launch on Ocado. So I think being open for feedback and open for suggestions of how to make it land better, ultimately sell better, is something to be embraced as well.
So you clearly like to work with suppliers and nurture them and support them. The next kind of step often is to then go to kind of bigger supermarket, a bricks and mortar supermarket. How do you feel snubbed if that happens? Or do you expect that they're going to next use you as a launch pad to go to Tesco's or Sainsbury's? Yeah,
no, I think we expect that we're part of the journey. And if we can be the first stepping stone, we get a real kick out of that. We love opening the door to people for their first retail experience in UK. And often brands will perform better on Ocado once they get that extra network and reach in UK retail, actually. So I think we expect it. It's something like Ria and the Paneer. We were first, and we'll always have been first. And now she's gone elsewhere, but that will be great for her brand. And I'm sure the brand will continue to build on Ocado as she becomes building in UK retail. So I think because we met Ria at the Bread and Jam, and it's that bit of, that bit around scary buyers or, being a bit unsure about approaching. Ria had a long queue that I had to join, and I had to get myself ready to speak to Ria to make an approach as the Ocado buyer, actually.
Wow, insane.
So it kind of works both ways, right? We're all human. It's that bit of, I might get rejected. She might say, not interested in Ocado retail. And I'd walk away feeling quite, luckily that didn't happen. But it's everybody at those trade shows you're representing, and it's a moment for everybody.
So you clearly take kind of pride in bringing a new product to market first, nationwide. Are there any brands that you're particularly kind of proud of that you've championed?
The team are just constantly finding. Not a week goes by where they don't find another brand and they bring it across the total grocery floor. So it's constant, absolutely constant. I think my last buying area at Ocado, frozen and meals. Frozen was just an absolute hotbed of innovation. It was constant. So another one the team are really proud of, the fruit pops, the chocolate coated fruit. So a year or two ago, nobody in UK retail sold any chocolate coated fruit. And now there's probably 10 brands out there. So finding something like that, a market that hasn't even emerged. We saw her at the IFE show. Product were amazing. British strawberries, brilliant quality chocolate, real care and attention, double dipped. They ate brilliantly, and we thought, Ocado customers are going to love those. We were first to market. So, but I could tell you 100 stories like that. They're everywhere.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, Lucy, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your amazing FMCG journey.
Great. Thanks for having me.